everyone. Welcome to Watchers Week, a podcast where we're going to review and discuss all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies leading up to the release of Marvel's The Avengers Infinity War, coming out May 4th, 2018. It's a nerdy show for nerdy people. My name is Tim, and I'm here with my fellow watchers, Steven,
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
and also Dr. Cosmic himself. How's it going, man?
We're about to jump into this thing. I can't wait to talk about this movie.
Oh my gosh, yes, finally, this is it. The first step on the road to infinity. Hashtag road to infinity, everybody.
Hashtag
Uh,
Journey to Infinity.
yeah. Hashtag journey to infinity. That's good. Yeah. Hashtag journey to infinity. Oh my gosh. Like, yeah, 10 years ago, 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been this long. DK, how old were you 10 years ago when you saw this?
I was a youngling. I was 12 years old.
Yeah, geez.
We're
Like,
going
yeah, I
back.
was, I was like early teens for sure. Like, I don't think I saw it when it first came out because, like, I don't think anybody was really a big fan of Iron Man back then. Like, Iron Man wasn't that big of a name as he is now. And so,
Yeah,
like,
Iron
I
Man
don't think
was unknown at his time.
oh, for sure, yeah. And I don't think anybody would, I didn't, for me personally, I didn't see it right away. So I think I was in my early teens when I watched it. Like, I knew about Iron Man. So I was like, oh, okay, like, I know what it was going to be about. But I wasn't, like, in any rush to see it like I was when went to go see, like, the Tobey Maguire movies.
Right. Yeah, there's two things about uh the build up to this movie that I distinctly remember. One of those things was being my childhood growing up was Rocketeer. I was obsessed with the Rocketeer, and I always thought, what would a movie be like in the modern day with a Rocketeer? And then that childhood dream, was fulfilled when seeing this movie because I was like, this is what I wanted. We get a PV and I can't remember his name, but the guy that becomes Rocketeer. We get their relationship in this movie with Tony and Jensen.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say it's funny that you bring up the Rocketeer because that's like that take place like in what, the 40s,
Exactly, yeah.
like the time period. Uh, Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow. Like, well, I don't know about Robert Downey Jr., but I remember Gwyneth Paltrow saying like her inspiration for kind of like her kind of like for Pepper Potts' like personality and stuff like that. She got it from like leading women in like movies and stuff like that from that were in the 1940s. She wanted some of like a little bit of attitude, sass toward her, but like still maintain the innocence. So when I like heard about that, I was like, dude, I totally got that. And then you mentioning the Rocketeer and stuff like that totally makes sense how that vibe fits in with Iron Man.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know that about Gwyneth.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, yeah. That's what she said. She was like trying to maintain that kind of like trying to vibe down. I mean, she like read the comics too. I think she like asked Brian Michael Bendis, I think, for like a couple comics with Pepper Potts in it to try to like also get the feel of what the character should be on the page, as well as her own creative twist to it and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, the what I was gonna say too is the second thing I remember. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, uh, my parents were really strict about what I watched, and so watching the trailer for this movie, I remember it was like pretty edgy, at least for me and my family. And my mom was like, "I don't know if we're gonna see that one." And it was just like, yes, it was like Iron Man, and it was metal and like rock and roll. And I just remember that teaser of him in the giant suit, first appearance suit,
Mach 1.
Mach 1, just rocking and tearing through these, terrorists. And it was just like, I can't wait for that movie.
Well, I remember playing Guitar Hero. That was my first introduction of Iron Man. I was like, I really hope that this
Oh,
song.
oh, wait, Iron Man the character or Iron Man the movie?
I was talking about both. Oh, wait, I thought you meant the song. I was talking about both. I was talking about, yeah.
Playing that song on Guitar Hero and just not having the movie and just having a comic reference, that was awesome. And now having the song in the movie, it's amazing. And talk about the soundtrack of this movie. It's intense. It's like
It's it starts off with AC/DC like Back in Black, right? Or what is it? I think it starts with
Yeah.
AC/DC song, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's Back in Black.
I was gonna say, going back to what Chad said about like the advertisement with this stuff like that. I just remember the tagline because I didn't see it. I think on the TV either. I think I saw like a poster of it when I went to go see a different movie. But I remember the tagline because I was just like, I thought it was like it was okay, but it was like heroes aren't born, they're built.
Yes.
I just remember that tagline, and I was just like, oh, that like it stuck with me.
Yeah, that was a great tagline. And again, it just took me back to my childhood watching The Rocketeer with my dad growing up and them Cliff, that's his name. Geez, I was trying to remember. I was like, God, can't believe I'm not remembering that.
Yeah,
Cliff and Peavy, them, they didn't really build the rocket pack in the movie, but they find it and then they make him the helmet and everything, and it's just like that movie, that movie's
Yeah,
great. Sorry.
and this one, no, well, I'm just like you were saying about the suit, like this one hits a lot of the marks with the suit because like in the opening one, so you get him, and like okay, rewatching this again, it does feel dated. Like I know we're talking about like how
Really?
I think for me personally, it feels a little bit dated. Like there's a lot of people with flip phones, like like the guy in the Humvee uses an actual like camera, like a digital camera, to take a
Okay,
picture.
yeah. I was thinking that when I saw it.
So yeah, a lot of flip phones. I think even like Tony Stark's like super phone is a flip phone technically.
Which is interesting, yeah, because that's when he gets ambushed at the convoy, and he immediately pulls it out and is like starts typing, and I'm wondering who's he calling?
Well, he was calling anybody, telling him what's going on, what happened.
He
But
he is in no shortage of the amount of people he knows.
I was gonna say he knows somebody who could help out.
He's got a posse.
But it does feel a bit dated in some parts. But otherwise, it's still. I mean, it has a bit of a rewatchability to it. For me, maybe not so much with the story, but definitely uh, just how fun it is because I feel like everybody working on it and starring in it are like having fun with this. And even though it's a movie that for the time that they were making it, like was they all the chips were on this movie because it was Marvel Studios, like all the things were jumping around from whose studios, like it went from like I think Universal to
Universal.
Fox, and then to like somebody else, and the directors were changing also. So then finally Marvel Studios was like, we're going to handle our own product. And so then they also got Jon Favreau in it. So like they were like, we're dealing this like, we have nobody kind of to blame but us. So all the chips were on this movie, and yet they still had like fun making this movie. And I think that's what I like rewatching this movie is like you can feel the fun people kind of had with it.
Yeah. You want to know what's crazy is I probably should have led with this. I have not like binge watched any of these Marvel movies in a really long time, like sequentially or, in chronological order. So yeah, first of all, it's going to be great doing this. And I already had so much fun rewatching this movie because it's been so long since I had seen it. But yeah, I kind of disagree with you. I don't think that this movie is dated. I mean, yeah, the flip phones kind of make it a little bit dated, but you could also, theorize that, he was in a remote area, and so
yeah, I mean, and
he's trying to be off the grid.
Yeah, and with how fast technology moves nowadays, like it's totally believable that wherever I think they just did present day for when it came out, so like around 2008. So with how fast technology moves, like they did do the MySpace reference, which people always say like, oh, that's so like MySpace, that's so old, but I'm like, before the time, like MySpace was like that was a big deal. Like I remember everyone in my school talking about like, oh, you got MySpace, oh MySpace, and stuff like that. So I don't think I feel like it does that in some parts, but in other times, like when you look back on it, you're like, it's believable. Like everybody remembers flip phones and everybody remembers cameras. It's not too big of a jump.
Right. And also you got to remember that they didn't say it exclusively like let me yeah, they said it in a context where you're like that is a social media outlet. So it doesn't really date the movie that much, I don't think. I mean, the flip phone, yes, and the music kind of, but it's what Iron Man is. He is probably the first Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. I mean, before Guardians, this was Iron Man. He's the one with the music.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and also like uh in the very beginning with like he's like in where is he at? Afghanistan? He's in Afghanistan.
Kunar
Yeah,
Province.
yeah. It's like the Marvel cinematic version of Afghan.
Actually, no, that's
Okay.
an actual place. Kunar Province is an actual place in
Kunar Pro.
Afghanistan.
Well, I don't remember them saying. I thought they did say a place, but I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was fictional.
I was gonna say I guess uh spoilers a little bit for Daredevil season 2, but I, I was gonna say like uh Punisher was in Afghanistan, so like was Punisher?
Oh,
Well, I'm
wow.
just saying like that's because that's like one of the first last things I watched was the Punisher Netflix series. So that was like in my brain still going back and rewatching this. And so I was like, what if like Punisher was somehow somewhere in the vicinity of this all going down?
That's a great theory. I hadn't even thought of that. Um, but yeah, just like because y'all were talking about a little bit about the tone of this movie, uh, and watching it again, you can really just tell that this was the best starting point for the MCU because it kind of gave you a feel for what would later come. Like how Steven mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy, you had a little bit of that flavor. You also had more of the serious tones that we would later get with Doctor Strange. You also had that comedic timing that Robert Downey Jr. is always so great at. Um,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny watching him in this one because he's a little bit more stiff. He hadn't, embraced uh, his RDJ isms.
Well,
Um,
I was
oh
gonna
yeah,
I was gonna say a little bit, yeah, but there's a lot of Robert Downey Jr. spirit in this, and I think it's because he kind of relates to the character of Tony Stark so much. I mean, here was an unknown guy coming in and playing a big old Marvel movie, but Robert Downey Jr.'s past, like leading up to this, like his whole, you know, mistakes and stuff, like all that, drama that happened with him as being a thing, like that was all
yeah,
in the public eye. He had all those parts, and then he kind of like was getting a redemption shot with this movie, and then so to have Tony Stark kind of go through the same journey of how he's living this life of kind of uh, I don't want to say like debauchery or something like that, but this like Chris crazy superstar rock star lifestyle, and then
yeah,
to like get a slap in the face and being like I need to turn it around was like totally something I think that resonated with RDJ.
yeah, for sure. I didn't mean to like throw shade by saying he was stiff.
No, 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 no.
He was
Yeah,
actually stiff in like a good way because
because
I
it's
actually really like him in the first one. More than some of his later appearances in his solo films.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure. I was gonna mention also real quick the you were talking about like all the different tones you get from this movie kind of goes on into the rest of the MCU. I think Jon Favreau was supposed to not do this one because it was jumping around a lot, and he was originally gonna like do the Captain America, the first Avenger, and he wanted to do
oh
that one.
really?
Yeah, I think he was gonna, and he was like gonna try to do that one like as a comedy and like a little bit more lighthearted. And then when he got Iron Man, instead of still like okay, I want to keep doing it lighthearted, he was like, well, let's try to do this serious and like kind of did
Hmm.
yeah. So I mean that's that if I remember correctly, that's how it kind of like went down. Was that was the uh, path he went tried to want to go down.
Well, to talk about Robert Downey Jr. again and how he was acting, he is the most definitive Tony Stark. I don't know if anybody played him back in the 1980s or whatever
Uh,
movie came out back then. But
yeah, an old Iron Man movie did come out.
yeah, I thought so. Something about being a tin can or a Pringles can, something like that. With holes. So he was the Tony Stark before he was Iron Man. I think this is a Tony Stark movie rather than an Iron Man movie, I think.
For sure.
I could totally see that, and I'm glad they kind of went with. I'm like Robert Downey Jr. was nowhere near like not famous. I mean, he was still pretty famous, but I don't think he was that big of a name as some of the other ones that were like considered for the role of Tony Stark. I think when the beginning, I
Tom
think
Cruise.
Tom
Tom
Cruise was
Cruise.
one, and then the other guy who shows up in like Iron Man 2, the Justin Hammer guy. I
Oh,
don't.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I remember that now.
that actor.
See,
He
we're
was.
we're flooded with so much information these days, so many rumors that I forget about half of them over time.
Well, that's what I remember because he was like they were like, oh, let's make him be like a wannabe like discount Stark, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's a little like salt in the wound there, but like it's a pay like that's a huge paycheck, being a big MCU movie, especially the sequel after like a huge success. But the Tom Cruise thing, I heard again why that didn't work out is because he wanted like a lot of FaceTime, so he wanted to make the Iron Man face shell transparent, so that way you
Oh
could still
God.
yeah, so that way you could still see his face.
Well, nothing wrong with seeing more Tom Cruise, but there is a limit. This is
I
called Iron Man.
I think he would have been too big, and like all if I watched that movie, all I would have seen was Tom Cruise. Whereas Robert Downey Jr., you lose yourself in him, and like you're just seeing Tony Stark.
Right.
Oh,
Kind of like we lost ourselves with Hugh Jackman because nobody knew who either of them were.
Hugh Jackman, yeah, oh, yeah, I would say definitely the same. There's a lot of certain characters that feel right for their roles, and I think that's because they find something that like resonates with them, and like they just really kind of like mesh well with the character and stuff like that.
But yeah,
Uh,
this movie, I mean, I was thinking about it. Technically, Iron Man is the first Avenger in my opinion, and I mean Avenger in like the purest sense of the word because
the one who
uh
wanted to avenge stuff.
exactly, yeah, because I mean in the first act of the movie you have Yinsen who's somewhat of like a mentor type dying, and of course, Tony.
I was gonna say even before that when he was in the beginning with War Machine and like who's the guy? Who's the big bad guy?
Terrence Howard.
Obadiah.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, Obadiah.
Yeah, Obadiah Stane.
What a horrible name,
But
Stain.
yeah, just his whole motivation and like what that would later or how that would later play out in other films. I mean, I don't want to get into Avengers yet because obviously this is the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
part. But I
yeah.
mean,
This
death
this
is clearly a very good motivation for uh,
heroes in
this
general.
character, and then and then later characters. Yeah, heroes in
Well,
general.
well, you're going against Captain America, literally called the first Avenger in his movie. So wouldn't he be the first Avenger?
Well, we're talking about a person who avenges, and Iron Man is totally somebody in this movie that avenges. Like, not only is he avenging the Yinsen and his kind of not only his uh, what's it called? Like his not caring uh, where his weapons kind of end up as a CEO or head of the company. Like it's also just him caring about people because he's kind of he's definitely a jerk. Like for the majority, like for a good portion of this movie, he's totally like
Well,
a jerk. Even when he's like recreated the Iron Man suit and he's flying around, he's still like a jerk to like Phil Coulson and stuff.
right.
Like so I think it's just him like wanting to set matters right and avenging like okay like you not only did you do wrong by Yinsen or whatever like all these other people but like you also kind of like did wrong by me by like putting my like everyone hating me
I think
and also
I think there was a part in the
I'm at fault
movie
too.
about that. It was the part with Pepper and Tony. in the garage, and he was like, "There is nothing else but the mission."
Oh, that the later part. I thought you were talking about the very first part where he's like working on the car.
No, no, no. That's where he built the suit.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. He does get a little bit like pretty passionate in that part.
He almost, I think, turns. That was a turning point before turning into a soldier and like doing the mission and getting it done, and then not knowing what to do except another mission.
I think it was this. That was just the more frustration thing.
Well, he never before did he have a mission. He had a like goal or like parties to go to, but
Exactly, but he's wanting to like clean up his mess, basically, like go around and getting all the weapons and stuff like that. Which for me, again, this is a big thing for me is like, what were the bad guys' plan again? I don't get
Well,
Obadiah's
wait, wait,
plan.
wait, wait, wait. Before we get into the bad guys, let me chime in real quick because y'all were talking about Tony being a jerk, and again, going back to what I was saying before about this movie setting up what we would later get, or what would
Yeah,
later develop in other films. Uh, we have Tony in that vehicle in the very beginning of the movie with that gentleman taking the picture, and he's like, no gang signs or whatever. And then he's like, no, I'm just kidding. Throw it up. Peace. I love peace. And then he says, I'd be out of a job with peace. And I was thinking about that because, again, I haven't seen these movies in a while. And I'm kind of glad that I hadn't because now that I know what I know from the other films, it's kind of, you get to pick up on certain stuff. But yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like, be out of a job without peace. Like, that's kind of his whole character. Like, he never really leaves that jerkiness or that, that almost like an ironmonger type character. Uh,
yeah.
doesn't he? Because he
well,
doesn't sell Iron Man suits to anybody.
well, yeah, he doesn't do that, but he's trying to pursue peace, but he still doesn't really give up this like warring.
Yeah, well, I think that also all comes into play like during Age of Ultron and stuff like that. Like
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
there's still a lot of baggage with this character that gets unraveled and unpacked throughout the rest of the whole MCU line.
And then
So,
you have that uh, one character, the terrorist character, who tells him that he tells him through Jensen, he's like Tony Stark, the most famous mass murderer in the history of America.
yeah,
And
that
again,
guy.
I was just like,
The,
wow, this like carried through like so many films, and I didn't even realize it.
I was gonna say even before all that and stuff like that, like speaking of like just kind of like nostalgia with this movie and stuff like that, seeing Terrence Howard again as like Rhodey was just like again like oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
You're
just
in here too, man. Oh man, well, cool. What happened? What
yeah
I
did
have
happen?
I have mixed feelings about him because I really like his personality, and this is gonna sound weird, but his voice, because I feel like the what's the actor's name that replaced him?
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Yeah, he kind of sounds Don Cheadle. He kind of sounds like he's tired all the time. I don't know. That's weird if that's a weird thing to say, but he sounds like he's tired or something all the time, like just his voice. And so, like, I feel like the original guy was better at delivering or had better comedic timing, I guess.
Yeah,
But then at the same time, I don't know if physically he would have fit the bill. Uh,
Terrence Howard.
like, yeah, later on down the road because
Terrence
uh,
Howard was saying like behind the scenes stuff like that because Robert Downey Jr. had to like work out a bunch. Like he didn't have to work out a bunch like as probably like some of those Marvel guys do now,
yeah,
but like he did enough apparently to like I think Jon Favreau said to make it look like he could uh you know ironsmith, to for him to like when he makes it in the cave like it should have been believable like oh I totally believe he could like smith or something like that, metal workshop. But I think him and the Terrence Howard was saying like he was like they were getting competitive with the workout stuff. Like he would be like, oh, I'd be like lifting heavy weights and stuff like that, and Robert Downey Jr. would be like, oh, put on more weights on there, and then I like didn't want to be stepped up, and he like put more weights on stuff like that. Like that was what they were saying was like they were constantly like that doing stuff like that. So I think Terrence Howard was fine with that and stuff like that. Like I think the only reason why he doesn't continue on is because like he asked for like some more money or something like that.
Right, of course. But
Yeah.
if you think about it, Terrence Howard isn't the one who isn't the, is that me? All right. Terrence Howard isn't the one that got into a mask, with the whole black surrounding him. He didn't go into a closet, shut the door, and let the CGI do its work with just a floating head. I don't think I could see that floating head of Terrence Howard.
True.
I think Terrence Howard does a pretty good roadie. I guess we don't ever know, but like if he would have been a good war machine though. But I think he does a good roadie in this one.
He does a good roadie,
Yeah.
except the only problem is why I don't understand the relationship of Rhodey and Tony Stark in this movie because Tony Stark treats Rhodey like crap. He is just not his friend.
What? No, remember like they're all. I'm like, it wasn't that he was doing. It was like he wasn't doing him dirty like in the very beginning where he like doesn't show up for like the Apogee Award. He's not. He wasn't like he wasn't like disrespecting Rhodey in that one. He just didn't care for the award that much. And then when it was a surprise to him, he was like, "Oh, what? You were the one presenting it?" And they're like, "Yeah." They said it would if I did it, you would like actually show up or something like that. And he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, I'll definitely do it now." And then he was like, it already happened. So I don't think he was a jerk to Rhodey. It was just that he didn't care about stuff that kind of Rhodey cared about, you know?
You just proved my point. I don't know what you're trying to do, but you did.
Like he doesn't care about the stuff that Rhodey cares about, but he cares about Rhodey. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I think, of course,
Because like when they're also on the plane and they're like drunk and stuff like that, they're like he's like all like you can like be so much more and stuff like that, and he's saying like what you do I can't do, you know?
so there's a mutual respect between them. I think I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they're totally friends first, friends straight
No,
forward, first and
no, they're
foremost.
like acquaintances or coworkers.
No. They're totally
Yeah,
friends.
I would kind of lean towards Steven's side of coworkers, but like really good coworkers.
Like the
I don't.
coworker you would invite, you would tell your personal life to. You wouldn't invite them over, but you would tell them about your personal life, what's going down in your house.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's fine.
Really, Iron Man says it. Iron Man, Tony Stark says it because he said to Pepper, "You're the only one I have." He
Well,
wouldn't
he
say
did
that
try.
unless he had Rhodey.
He did try to open up to Rhodey, and Rhodey was like, "Not now," because he thought it was like something else.
Right, because Tony Stark treated him badly throughout that time.
I don't know. Anyway, the other thing was, uh, I remember rewatching it. I think Steven was with me when I was rewatching it.
Yeah,
But when the chick or whatever she's interviewing him,
I have it here. Christine
Yes. Yeah.
Eve.
Christine. Man,
Yeah.
I'm killing it. Christine, she's interviewing and stuff like that, and then he's all like, and then Tony Stark does the line, whatever. I like to show you firsthand or something like that. So he was like, I can't believe that line like works. And I was like, rule number one, you got to be attractive. It's like for sure, like the way like Tony Stark gets away with stuff and like a lot of stuff like that is like number one, he's attractive person. Two, he's got tons of money, and like uh he like goes from they were in like Las Vegas, right? Yeah, because they were at the Caesar's Palace or whatever, and then all the way to like Malibu and stuff like that. I'm like, that's a 3 hour drive
That's a
for
5 hour
some
drive.
5 hour drive. I was like,
5 hours. No, that's a 5 hour plane.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
just
plane.
like I thought that was like I was like, yeah,
Do you think the strippers were still on that plane when he took her?
they weren't strippers. I thought
They
they were
weren't.
actually
Yeah. I
yeah,
was just
they
gonna
were
say.
actually stewardess.
They were they were probably strippers put into stewardess.
No,
No,
I don't think you'd call them strippers either.
yeah.
There was a pole in the middle of the plane.
They were entertainers, Steven.
Oh,
They,
okay.
that it's a stripper pole, but I don't think they were strippers. You know what I'm saying?
Unless they're stripping, they're not strippers.
As
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I don't know where I just got
um,
that from.
but uh, when
Well, wait, wait, wait.
he comes
Oh,
he
wait. What are you saying?
I was gonna say when he gets kidnapped and
Oh, yeah, the bad guys. I was fixing
yeah
to get into that.
yeah.
well, before we go to the bad guys, I do have a problem with Jensen.
That
What?
he is a bad
No, no,
guy.
no, no. Just hear me out. What was the plan? Because before Jensen
No,
said,
that's what I was saying.
well, no, Jensen said stick to the plan, and the plan didn't
Oh, right.
involve
Yinsen's the other guy.
Jensen.
Yeah. When he's escaping, right?
Right. He goes
Right.
like,
Well, I'm not even getting to the escaping part yet.
"What are you talking about?"
I'm talking about when he's like building the suit and he
Right.
gets like the thing in his chest. So like he builds the arc reactor, right? And he's all like talking about like, oh, it could get like 13 gigajoules a second or whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then he's all like, that could power your heart for 50 lifetimes. And I was like, wait a second, is the arc reactor powering his heart? I thought it was like a magnet to keep away the shrapnel from his heart.
Well, when they show the X-ray, isn't the metal like technically in his heart
Yeah,
already? It's just
yeah,
like not going to the like central valve or whatever you call that.
yeah.
Uh,
It's not like cutting him up. I
so
just thought that was
maybe,
I thought it was just a magnet that kept the metal away from his heart. I didn't know it like no, his heart's technically dead. This thing's like running it for him.
yeah, I think it's like a combo of both.
Uh,
I think it's a battery and a magnet if you think about it. That's what's so great about the arc reactor because Jensen put a magnet,
Well,
anti-magnet.
true, yeah, they needed the arc reactor to power the suit, so that's probably what that all that power was for.
oh, okay.
Because he put in like 12 missile batteries into his chest. I mean, that's crazy.
Oh, the palladium.
Palladium, yeah, that's what it's called. Batteries.
Uh, yeah.
Oh,
So
wait,
that was just the thing about it. But what were you saying about like when they start escaping and stuff like that?
right. So they start escaping, and he was saying like, "Tell it to me again." He's like 13 steps to the left, straight, and then they blow the door up, the bad guys, and then Jensen goes, "I'm gonna buy us some time," and he grabs a gun and goes, "Yeah," and he runs off. I don't know what Jensen was supposed to do other than that. I think the plan was Jensen to die. It was his plan, but what did he tell Tony? Like, oh, don't worry.
Well, Tony could have gone out first. I think that's what Tony wanted to do, and then just have Jensen probably wait till he cleared out all those dudes and stomped through them.
Right. But then if you think about it, oh, I kill all these dudes. Now what? Because
True.
he shot his rocket boost jumps. What?
Yeah. Well,
Or
then again, his leg did get injured when he had used his thrusters or whatever. So maybe had his uh, system not have been compromised, maybe the thrusters would have been strong enough to hold or support two people.
no, it
But
was definitely
that's
enough
a
to
stretch.
support two people. But where
Dude,
was he
dude.
gonna be held? Iron Man wasn't gonna hold him in his arms. I
Yeah,
think
that's what I'm saying. I don't know.
the
I was go ahead.
yeah, no, the plan was for Jensen to die, and I don't know how they fooled Iron Man into thinking he
Their
wasn't gonna die.
their plan was probably just to kill everyone. Like that way they don't really have to run and like I'm sure there's like a jeep, or something.
If there was a
Or some
Jeep,
type of plane.
And then he gets like out of the Iron Man suit
but then why put the thrusters into the suit if he
because
wasn't
it's a
gonna die?
robot suit, Steven. I want my rocket boots in my robot suit.
He's like,
It's like,
what
do
are we
we
gonna do with
really
all
need?
these missile thrusters? I don't
Yeah,
know, just probably throw them on the ground.
do we really need flamethrowers on these? I thought these are just like and now put some flamethrowers on that snitch. But I was gonna say like talking about how like maybe Punisher was in Afghanistan and stuff like that. What if Punisher was
Flint
like
Castle.
also Yeah, yeah. What if Frank Castle was also like kidnapped along with Iron Man?
Okay, now you're blowing my mind.
Yeah, and then so like he's in there with them, and then he's all like, "We
Oh
have
wait,
to
with
escape."
him? I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, no, he's like with them, and then so he's like, "We have to like escape." So then I Tony Stark builds the Iron Man suit, but instead of him wearing it, he puts it on Punisher, and then
Then I
Punisher.
feel like Frank would just not trust him and then kill him, kind of like he was gonna do with what's his face?
Well, no spoilers.
Micro?
Huh? Micro. There you go. I don't know why I was gonna call him Q. I'm thinking of James Bond.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
and then Tony Stark could end up like being his Micro when he gets back, when they both get back, and then he's like some like Iron Man dude, but like
the
or like I guess
Iron Punisher,
or like yeah, like or War Machine, I guess more likely.
Iron Castle.
Ooh, Iron Castle sounds pretty great.
Anyway, can I just say one thing that
Yeah,
this
You can go ahead. Say anything.
these group of baddies,
the Ten Rings.
yeah, they are the start of what I like to call jewelry baddies, because then we get later on we get Infinity Stones, we get like jewelry thieves in
Oh,
Spider-Man. So there's a lot of jewelry going on.
do they do jewelry thieving in Spider-Man? I thought they robbed a bank.
They robbed an
Yeah,
ATM.
he's like, well, yeah, they were robbing a bank, but he was like, Spider-Man, didn't he call them jewelry thieves or something?
Nope.
Or burglars? He was like, Avengers, I didn't think you were jewelry thieves or something like that. I don't
No,
know.
because they're robbing a bank.
Oh, wait, you know what? Oh my God. Never mind. I think I'm getting confused with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
That guy was definitely a jewelry thief.
Jewelry thief, yeah. Oh
When?
God.
What? I don't even remember. Anyway, uh,
Yeah,
We
we
don't
got off
talk about
topic.
that
We got
movie.
off topic.
but actually, with the Spider-Man thing, I was gonna mention, uh, they were gonna, I think, try to tie this in with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man
Toby
by like,
Maguire.
Tobey Maguire?
yeah, yeah, because that had come out already before Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire came out before Iron Man, and
I know.
I think Spider-Man 2 also. Um,
Sounds like a bunch of conspiracy theories.
well, because they were gonna say like, Tony Stark kind of helped build the Doc Ock's tentacles.
All
And then that's where Sony got the bright idea to just kind of consolidate everything into Oscorp.
Yeah, well, I guess. I think they were just trying to start an MCU going, and they were like, let's use Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, something like that, by mentioning, because they also mentioned like Doctor Strange in that one too.
right. They did do that. Except, here's the thing. Would you want Toby Maguire to be in the MCU?
I wouldn't mind it. Heck, he could still be in it. Let's put him as Uncle Ben.
What? Uncle Ben?
Let's,
Tom Holland's
yeah,
Uncle Ben?
yeah.
Uncle Ben would be pretty cool.
Let's put Tobey
I'd be
Maguire
down
as
for
Uncle
that.
Ben.
Okay, we're getting off topic though.
Right.
It started with Iron Castles. Now it's gone way off. So yeah, jewelry baddies, guys.
No,
I
that's
like
where it
I
started.
I definitely like all the shout outs, the suits kind of due to the comics where like the first one he builds looks like his first Iron Man suit, and then when he's like Jarvis when he first like is starting to like 3D design the Iron Man suit, like Jarvis first puts it in all gold like he does like when he teams up with the Avengers.
Yeah,
Oh, is
yeah,
that
that was cool.
for?
And then I think
That
the also
silver suit was so cool though to see for
yeah,
the first time.
that one is the Silver Centurion armor.
It actually would have been cool if they would have done a Homecoming, uh, or structured the movie like Spider-Man: Homecoming, and given him the uh, classic suit, and then make him, get that suit wrecked, and then go back to the silver suit for the final act.
Yeah, I forget which comic book artist worked on it, but a comic book artist worked on the design of this one, and then they like uh fleshed it out with like the person who was actually making it and stuff like that. But if I remember correctly, it's like the suit itself weighed 90 pounds, and I think it was like made out of like 400 like 400 to 500 pieces.
Wow.
And I was just like, that's super dope.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy how much cosplayers took the idea of Iron Man and ran with it. Because, to be honest, it's the most difficult
Well,
cosplay, and yet they took it and went with it and did beautiful cosplays you see at Comic-Con every year.
I don't think anybody was really cosplaying Iron Man before this, right?
No,
Yeah.
no way.
No.
Yeah, this totally spurred it on, and like,
Once they saw how all the pieces, separated and the plates, they were like, "Oh, wait."
yeah, and oh, I remember that I watched a GIF of Iron Man suiting up for the first time with like total like I don't know like Gundam style. Like I wouldn't even know how to describe it, but that whole like transformer assembling part and so like that. I remember watching that GIF and like man, like that was such a cool scene right there, like a little montage or whatever it's called.
By the way, it's pronounced GIF, but that's a discussion for another time.
Oh no. It's not.
No, but yeah, when he's using his, I guess like feet repulsors, I don't know what you would call them, thrusters. The
Yeah.
way the calves sort of separate and all the plates separate, and then you have the back plates that sort of protrude. I can't think of the word. But yeah,
Oh,
just
the flaps when
right.
he's all
Yeah,
like
the flaps. There you
deploy flaps.
go. Just the way they were able to conceptualize all of the different pieces and make it look like it's an actual like functioning suit and it's not just one piece the whole time. It was so great to see for the first time, and again
Yeah,
watching it again just like took me back.
yeah. This is pretty. It is a pretty good movie, I would say.
This is a really great movie, but it only does have 3 fight scenes.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, so you have the part where he fights all the big bad guys, and then he escapes, and then he builds his suit, and then when he builds it, when he comes back, actually, like that was more talking about how like Robert Downey Jr. melded with Tony Stark and stuff like that. Like he's eating Burger King, and I remember from like an interview he said like that was how he kind of like realized about his whole like drug thing and stuff like that, and wanted to turn around was because he was like ate a Burger King burger that was so disgusting that he was like, oh my gosh, like wake up call. And so like seeing that, like, oh, like he was eating Burger King and so like that, going back to it, I was like, oh man, like totally like everything meshed.
This episode is
Uh,
sponsored by Burger King. Get rid of your drug habit by eating a burger.
yeah. Uh,
Don't do drugs, kids. Eat Burger King.
yeah. Uh, and then so then after he builds it, he builds a suit, and then he fights the guys, right? He fights the tank and like all the other dudes in the new suit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I
Well,
remember. I remember watching. I believe it was one of the late night shows. I can't remember who. It was probably Letterman or Leno, one of those. And they had shown a little 10-second clip, and it was that clip of him crawling out of the ground.
And then just
Again, so metal, so rock and roll. He shoots the missile, walks away, tank explodes.
cool guys don't look at explosions.
Exactly.
that's really bad.
Yeah. And then then you have that fight scene, and then you just have the big fight scene with Obadiah at the end.
Right. Do you think the first fight scene in the cave is? I don't think that's the fight scene I'm talking about.
What's the other
Because
fight
that
scene?
wasn't a fight scene.
What's the other one?
The fight scene I'm talking about, because the first fight scene in the cave is technically a murder scene. He's just there's no chance of those guys winning, so he's just plowing through them and
Yeah.
destroying them and
It's
brutally
still
burning them on fire.
right.
Anyway,
I would still consider this movie like pretty action packed. Like
Yeah,
it does what uh, all the great Marvel solo films do well. It focuses more on character, but I would say it's pretty edgy as far as Marvel films go. I
yeah.
mean,
This is
in
I
that
was
in that
gonna
first act when uh, he gets that shrapnel in him, you see that guy just get shredded by bullets. The soldier.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say this
And
is one of the first, non-Disney movies. This was pre-Disney. So this movie had some heft to it. They could go places.
yeah,
They didn't have to be constricted by the mouse laws.
they're not that constricted. I mean,
We
I don't
still
want to
get some
get I don't
parts.
I don't want to get into other films too much, but I mean, Doctor Strange, they did some pretty edgy stuff with that.
Yeah, yeah. You still get the impact from all that stuff. But this one, I think, what was they did something that was like, oh yeah, this was pre-Disney, but I forget. Um,
Oh,
uh,
the Disney Expo, the party he goes to. What kind of party did I didn't get an invite, and then he crashes his own party, and then when he dances with Pepper.
that wasn't what I was thinking, but yeah,
Oh, all right.
that one's good. Phil Coulson in this one,
Oh,
man, that
Billy
was
Colson.
bringing back memories. He also was wearing like a huge suit. He looked like a kid in one of them. I don't know. Look up a picture, and he's wearing a pretty big suit. And I think because like they didn't think he was going to be that big. Like I think or I think even like what I guess just in workshop talk, he was supposed to just be agent, or something like that, or shield agent.
Right.
And then it was like, oh no, Phil Coulson's like the coolest, and so everybody was like, then he gets thrown in everything.
They probably
Wh-
thought that.
which wasn't my favorite decision, but go ahead, Steven.
I was gonna say they probably thought of Agent, a big, bulky security, not social security, Secret Service agent, like huge tackling a guy. But then Colson came up like a little office guy with a whole tablet in his
Yeah, yeah,
hand.
yeah, yeah.
So just like we have a suit. I don't know. I just put him in it.
Uh, Also talking about like all the different action scenes. The last one when Obadiah gets into the big suit. Why didn't he put that like ear paralyzing thing like in the suit? Like that works so good, and
Right.
he never uses it again. He's like he like uses it to kill the uh Ten Rings guy.
I did not think about that.
He uses it to almost kill Tony Stark, and then he's like, it's not good enough to put it in the Iron suit or the Ironmonger suit. And I'm like, dude, that thing is like baller.
I think the reason why he didn't put it in is because he couldn't. He couldn't. Like he would have to hold it in his hand and do it. He couldn't shrink an arc reactor. He wasn't as smart as Tony, so he probably didn't even make it. He just stole that idea from someone and just kept it.
He stole it from Hank Pym.
Oh my god.
The ear thing? The ear
Well,
thing?
actually,
Yeah, I'm just joking.
Oh,
I would
I was gonna.
actually really love a call to Hank Pym when he was saying like, all I ask for you to take this arc reactor and shrink it for the scientists instead of saying like, sir, well, I'm not Tony Stark, to be like, I'm not Hank Pym. I can't do that. And
But
I'm not Tony Stark.
that would have been a stretch. People would have been
It would
like,
have been.
people would have been like, who's Hank Pym? Anyway, I was gonna say though, also the Ironmonger fight when he's like, I think he hits somebody. He hits somebody like one of the agents or like one of the workers, like in the very beginning. That dude, oh man, come back to me, because I gotta find out who he is. But he's one of the people in Rage Against the Machine, the band.
Wait, you're talking about Tom Morello?
Yeah, I think that's him. Yeah,
I
Morello.
was fixing to bring that up when y'all were talking about the soundtrack earlier. I was like, somebody really significant contributed. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
remember Rage Against the Machine was in there, and he's the dude that gets like smacked by the Obadiah.
The problem with that is that Pepper Potts is there with the agents, sees a giant warmonger or ironmonger kill 5 agents. I don't know how Phil Coulson survived that, actually, to be honest with you. And then she walks out of the building, like, slowly, like, oh, and she calls Tony, and she's like, Tony, this is crazy. He's evil. I'm like, run
yeah.
away. You're going to die. And then she's like, no, he's stuck it behind a small door. He can't get out. I'm like, what? Why isn't she booking it?
Yeah. So is the flaw with every other,
I was
horror
gonna,
film.
I was gonna, I was gonna say with the Clark Gregg thing, or not Clark Gregg, Phil Coulson thing, they probably like were planning to write him off like that, like just he's boom he gets kicked off and died and stuff like that, and then they just brought him back once people liked him a lot because I think a lot of this they said was like ad libbed because like they didn't really have a pinned down script because they were just like constantly coming up with lines off the fly. And I think Jeff Bridges was saying like that was kind of like a transition because normally he like tries to study the script and like know his lines down like off the back of his hand, and then when they're like no we're kind of just winging it, he was like oh okay, and like he was saying like he had more fun with it like that. And then Gwyneth Paltrow also was saying like it was kind of hard to like come up with you know uh what's it called like replying to Tony Stark's like witty comments and stuff like that, snarky comments, because they were just like ad libbed. So she like was like, okay, let's do it again because I think they said like they had like two cameras constantly capturing like different stuff.
Right. I don't think I got that feeling. I feel like the feeling of the movie was like it was extremely well done and everybody had a part to play. And I was looking at the cast, and it's only like a few small amount of people. I mean, of course, we're used to Civil War and all the Avengers movie when there's 20 or more people, but this had like less than 6 people, I think, in the movie.
It had a big cast. I mean, you had a lot of star people.
Who?
Gwyneth Paltrow, Robert Downey Jr., Jon Favreau starred in it. He was happy.
What?
Uh,
A star?
then you got Jeff Bridges as the main bad guy. Terrence Howard. Uh, Sam did Samuel L. Jackson show up or was that at the very end?
That was at the very end.
Very end.
Oh dang! I was gonna say like, wait, he was in the movie, right?
Oh, what?
Go ahead, Jess. I'm not going to say anything
Well, I
important.
was gonna say another thing that this movie did really good is because we focused on all the action parts, we covered those main points, but the relationship between Tony and Pepper, I felt was really organic the way they did it. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
forced whatsoever. Because uh, as I was watching this, I was playing back some of the scenes of Man of Steel in my head, and just how kind of forced that relationship was upon Clark and Lois. And uh, with this, I mean, they just set it up right off the bat, like right when they uh, are on screen together. In that first scene, they are on screen together. Their chemistry is just like fire, and they already kind of set up their
yeah,
sort of like, you know.
yeah, classic will they won't they kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm totally glad we're all like on the same page. Like this is a good movie. This is it's the first one. It was good, and it needed to be good because it was like the first step and stuff like that. Um, I wanted to talk about people who had a different kind of viewpoint on the movie and stuff like that. So I'm thinking we should head on towards the negative zone.
Well, wait. Before we get to the negative zone, because I do
Okay.
want to get there. Well, wait. After the negative zone, do we get into our negatives, or should we do that before then?
Yeah, let's rate it. Let's rate it right now. Go ahead. Give us your rating.
Well, no, not my rating, but I was gonna say one negative thing that I have about the movie.
Sure, go ahead.
Uh, the one, really, the only major negative I have of this movie is how Ironmonger is kind of defeated by being taken up in the
Oh,
sky.
the ice thing, yeah. The
Right.
ice thing comes full circle.
Well, he didn't
Yeah.
really get defeated by him. He just got knocked out for a second. That was only one part of the round.
Well,
Right.
he gets blowed up.
Yeah, his suit kind of I mean, it was cool that they threaded that through the story. Like Tony found that out first, so obviously Obadiah is not going to know about it. Um,
Well,
but it was just kind of, I don't know. It was too. It wasn't as epic of a climax as I wanted it to be
Hmm.
between these two armored soldiers.
right.
Um,
The two weapons that would change the world.
right.
Well, they didn't want it to turn into like Rock'em Sock'em robots,
Well,
just
no, I
like
didn't
them.
want that either. But if we would have gotten just a little bit more, I don't know, repulsor action or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
We
So, what would you rate this movie, Chaz?
My rating for this movie, seeing it again, and I try to stray away from rating movies based on on nostalgia, but this is so nostalgic, and I still think it holds up. So, oh man,
Is having a hard time?
we're doing Infinity Stone rating.
Yeah, yeah,
So, out of six Infinity Stones,
yeah.
I would, man, I will give this five and like a little tiny chip of the sixth Infinity Stone.
All right, yeah, that sounds great. Steven, final thoughts on this movie?
My final thoughts are that
Well,
it's a
not your
great
final
movie.
final thoughts. Like, what's the
No,
sum?
I'm gonna die after this movie. No, but my final thoughts of the movie are that it's a good movie. It's a great piece, but it's weird. It's a little on its own, but it's also the start. I don't think it's a stumble, but it's a half step. For me, the rating will be 4 out of 5 Infinity Stones. It's low, but it's what I got to do.
That, that's a fair score, I would say. That's a fair score.
Wait, 4 out of 5 or 4 out of 6?
Did I say 4 out of 5? I meant 4 out of 6.
There are six Infinity Stones. Uh, for me, I like depended kind of like I graded on like rewatchability, like going out buying this DVD, going out buying that Blu-ray, renting it on Redbox or whatever your home
Yeah,
on demand stuff, and like being like I want to watch it again. Like, but you've
true.
already seen it. Hitting record it when it shows up on TV. But don't you own like the special edition? Doesn't matter. I love this movie. Hit record. um, so like that all depends on that. This one, like I said, it's not so much of the story where you're just like, oh, I want to rewatch it for that time when Obadiah is playing that piano and he's all like, well, not saying like, oh, I love it when Obadiah plays the piano, but like they're all like tiptoeing, around each other. Like, I know you up to something, and he's like, I know you up to something. That whole like tense moment. So like, and Pepper's just there, like do do do, trying to run the company. Um, like that part, those parts don't really like. Oh man, I want to see that part. For me, it's just again the kind of fun that everyone has with it, and like I mentioned with them not having a script or something like that. Uh, it's like it feels natural. Like it totally feels a part of this world as any other, you know, not science fiction movie. I don't get that feeling from this movie as like it's a science fiction movie. I get it as this is kind of real stuff. So I would totally kind of just give it 5 out of 6 Infinity Stones because I'll rewatch it and I'll just be like, this feels like not a science fiction movie. Like it feels like a movie you can rewatch and be like, there's something behind it.
Yep.
All right. I say we head on down to the negative zone. Let's take this.
We're going to that negative zone,
Yeah.
and we might stumble across uh, Oh wow, I just screwed this up big time. What's his name? Not Night. I wow. Oh,
Mr. Negative.
Annihilator, Annihilator,
Annihilate.
Annihilus.
Annihilus is in it, yeah.
Oh wow.
All right, so the negative zone is where we had a certain opinion about this movie, but there are people with a specific negative viewpoint about this movie. So we're headed to the negative zone, reading some negative reviews on our favorite Marvel movies. And right
Uh,
here,
I was gonna say I have this great negative comment. 1 out of 10. The
oh yeah,
worst
yeah,
and most
leave it up.
overrated superhero movie of all time. Brought to you by Spring Sunny Winter, May the 7th, 2008.
So, oh, May 2008. So
Yeah.
like that was right when this came out.
It's he saw it, he went and he wrote a review and it was awful.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
I had no idea what the film is about, but I still seem some typos because of the let's see. All right, here we go. After I seen the movie, I felt like taking my shoe off and throwing it on the screen. Iron Man has more than enough of what an awful film should have. The movie was even worse than the trailers. Uh,
I felt like the trailers, like we said, the advertisements, stuff like that, like the trailers pulled it off. Like it made me want to go see it.
all right, it's a bit long, but here's another paragraph. The
All right.
worst superhero movie I've ever seen before this crap was Spider-Man 3, but Iron Man broke the record. It was extremely boring that I had a sore head and I felt like ripping my arm out and constantly bash my head with it. The running length was about 2 hours and it felt like 4 hours. The director must have pulled the script from his bum and was running around his house with it, and his wife hit him on the head with a rolling pin and said, "You promised me no more rubbish films." It was a complete load of garbage, junk and crap right from the start to the end of this 2 hour torture device.
Hold on,
Recommend this
wait.
movie to someone you really hate.
Now, did they say they saw Iron Man or Iron Man 3?
I
Oh,
Because
I would I may have to look this guy up specifically for his Iron Man 3 review because this guy was a negative zone.
well, he compared it to Spider-Man 3, and Spider-Man 3 hadn't come out yet, did it?
Spider-Man 3. Oh, Spider-Man 3 was definitely out.
Yeah.
It was.
Spider-Man ended.
I thought it was Spider-Man 2 and then Iron Man.
Well,
No.
no. Spider-Man 3 ended and then Iron Man started.
Oh, okay. Oh man, that's a pretty hefty contrast with Spider-Man 3 level badness of Iron Man.
It's do you have any faults with the guy though? Because I mean, of course, ripping your arm off and bashing
He's
it
he
with your
talks about like how the director didn't do a good job with the script. I think Jon Favreau did an awesome job with this movie, and I know he like we said like he could have done Captain America, the first Avenger, and stuff like that, but I feel like he really hit his stride in Iron Man, and I don't think I would want to go into that multiverse where he makes Captain America instead because I like the Jon Favreau Iron Man.
right.
I got one. Let's see. Uh, Craig. This is I forgot what website I pulled this from, but it says Craig. I was hoping for something more like funny games.
That's
that,
that's it.
that is
That's it?
it. That is straight up it. I was hoping for something more like funny games.
What are funny games?
I have no idea. That I wanted to talk about that. What is funny games? What is funny games?
Funny games. Is that like Hunger Games? But that when was it written?
I was just like, I had no idea what this was, and I was just like, oh my god. So, I was hoping something for more like funny games. Yeah, I agree. This I didn't get a funny game feeling from this movie. uh, let me see. Uh, Alec, I have one from Alec. Uh, he says, a constant deja vu mixed with lack of originality. made me lose some respect for Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, I guess it was Rotten Tomatoes. It has a higher rating than Batman Begins. Ooh,
Ooh.
so Batman Begins, another rich guy movie, comes a superhero origin story. Iron Man compared to Batman Begins, huh?
Well, wait, was that throwing shade at Batman Begins?
He was no, he was saying like Iron Man has a higher rating than Batman Begins.
Oh, so he likes Batman Begins.
Oh, well, yeah, this is a negative comment over Iron Man. He can't believe Iron Man has a higher rating than Batman Begins, so he likes Batman Begins.
Okay, yeah.
Which I gotta admit, Batman Begins is probably, I don't know if it's my favorite because we get that's a whole other thing with Dark Knight and
That's
stuff
all.
like that. But yeah, Iron Man's good. Iron Man's good, I think, to be held up along with Batman Begins.
All right, I got one from Alan Smith, 04 from November 14th, 2008. 1 out of 10 stars, a steaming pile of CGI garbage. Featuring the very latest in computer-generated effects and a plot that would insult a retarded 6-year-old, Iron Man is the latest in a long line of Hollywood product culled from the dizzying literacy heights of superhero comic books. If Iron Man were edible, it would be a jar of baby food, library paste flavored baby food.
Like,
If it were music, it would be chopsticks. If it were a vehicle, it would be a tricycle. A tricycle with training wheels. Contempt for its audience strips from every frame of this product. No doubt the drool case fanboy target audience will be thrilled to go down to their Batman underoos by Downey's Robert Downey Jr.'s lackluster performance as he sleepwalks through the product's repulsive hero role. The
Wow.
product is certainly simple enough for people who regard Cheetos as a food group and think repetitively boring video games are the apex of computer technology. But aside from its primary focus group, the only other audience to which this product could possibly appeal would be coma patients and Scientologists. And you probably have to tie down the coma patients.
geez Louise, man.
We got to remember that this wasn't a fan probably favorite when it first came out.
Like a fan of who? Iron Man? Because this is a good, I think, Iron Man movie.
Well,
Right, yeah.
remember what it had to deal with. Spider-Man 3 just came out, and
But this is an origin movie. Like people forget, like you have to take certain steps in an origin movie. And I feel like this is one of the few movies where the whole point of the movie is the origin of the character. You know, like we've had this whole point of him building the suits and getting it to work, like putting it up there, going back to Batman Begins. Batman Begins, he trains with the ninjas, you know, he builds the batarangs, he builds the cave. Like it's one of those few superhero origin movies where the actual origin of the hero takes front and center of the entertainment, you know, pace.
right. What do you think he meant, or what do you think about what he said about Robert Downey Jr.'s sleepwalking performance in the movie?
Who's this guy name?
This guy, let's see, he's Alan Smith 04.
Let me tell you something, Alan Smith 04. When you're listening to this podcast, when you stumble on this podcast, and we're talking about your review from whenever you wrote this and it's like that, Robert Downey Jr. definitely doesn't sleepwalk through his acting at all. Like this is the way Tony Stark plays out. You know, Tony Stark doesn't care. So when you're watching him and he's playing his, apathy, like, to everyone and stuff like that, that's what Tony Stark is. That's Robert Downey Jr. playing it right. And then to have that shift of tone when he finally gets that, slice of life to the face and he starts, you know, working at it and making his actions count and stuff like that. Like that's when you start seeing, I think, a little bit of Robert Downey Jr. in the role. And I mean, we talked about all the people. What was it? Sam Rockwell and Tom Cruise who could have been in this one. Like, no way could those guys, I think, have pulled it off as much as Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, I'm still I kind of have this, you know, uh, wonder of what could have been with Tom Cruise, but I don't think it would have been as compelling as Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I think I still would have had the star factor with Tom Cruise, and like I don't know, like the same kind of deal with uh, Megan Fox in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like I don't see April O'Neil, I see Megan Fox.
Right.
If I saw Tom Cruise
I
as Tony
wouldn't.
Stark, I would be like, that's Tom Cruise.
I don't know if you would have put like a stash on him and stuff like that, or the goatee. I think you probably would have bought into uh, what do they call it? The suspension of disbelief or whatever. But I think what would have happened is Tom Cruise would have brought like a different kind of level of gravitas to the role, but it wouldn't have been as human as Robert Downey Jr. Like it
That's
would have been good, but it would have been like a different kind of good.
I could see that. I could see that.
I don't think I could see Tom Cruise going up to Pepper Potts and being like, "That would be all Miss Potts" or something like that.
Well, right, yeah, they would have had to have cast a different Pepper because she's
Well,
way too tall.
I was gonna say this is the last negative review I want to talk about. Is it's by David. Barely watchable trash. I stuck through it to be polite to the person who wanted me to see it, but managed to get out of enduring any of the sequels. Loud noises and expensive special effects can't make up for the absence of a plot, writing, characterization, or really anything interesting. And I just felt like it was pretty relatable when he's all like, I stuck through it to be polite to the other person who wanted me to see it. And I'm like, oh man, we've all been there when you're watching a movie and you're just like, I want to
Yeah,
get out of here, but you're like,
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. Green Lantern was the movie for you.
Well, actually, well, there's a whole story behind that. I was all hyped for Green Lantern, but the moment that movie started, I knew it was garbage. But
Oh,
I
so
I
you're
did not walk out of the theater.
no.
I was overtaken by parallax and the fart clouds. Anyway, um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting that none of these people specify what is missing from the story because I feel like all of the character development is there.
I could see
Um,
I could see these people not being comic book fans. You
right.
know
No,
that
but yeah, even just from a a film point of view, that I mean these characters still have their own story, and the story is there. I mean, yeah, it's taken from a comic book, but even if you hadn't read the comic book before, I mean, it wouldn't really affect
it
anything.
still holds its own as a movie.
Yeah, it holds its own.
Yeah, I could see that also. Steven, were you gonna say something?
No, I wasn't. I
Oh,
guess.
okay. uh, yeah, I mean, I think that even though there's a couple people that still want to bash on this movie, I feel like it still kind of comes out on top with it's kind of just it's Tony Starkish charm, you know, like
I wonder if people didn't stay till the end of the first end credit scene ever. Because if you didn't, it's kind of like, okay, where does that leave us? And it was only until the end credit scene of Nick Fury that people realized, oh my gosh, this could be so much bigger as the Avengers.
yeah,
So
I
is
could
this a standalone movie or
But again, like
I don't
people
remember
who
if I
aren't,
stayed for it. I think I stayed for it because we were just talking about it throughout the trailers. I mean the credits.
we definitely stayed for it. I don't know if we probably didn't see it opening night, and we had heard.
I know I didn't see it opening night.
I remember we had heard through the grapevine somehow that there was something at the end. But yeah, we didn't see it opening night. Um,
Uh,
but
I
again,
could
going back
I
to people not being comic book fans, I mean,
yeah.
they even if they had seen the post credit scene, they probably wouldn't have gotten the reference or known the entirety of what was going on.
Hmm.
because I remember. Well, never mind. I'll save that for our Avengers uh, video.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
something about Thanos, but
yeah. This movie has a lot of baggage to it that they don't really unpack a lot of it until like later movies, which totally was part of their plan when they first made that. They were like, "Oh no, there's gonna be we're leading this up to Avengers, so there's gonna be a lot of points where we can like resurface stuff and uh, have it all play out and everything." So I'm sure we'll be referencing back to Iron Man throughout multiple times in all these different videos.
absolutely, yeah.
All right, I think we had enough of these negative zone members. Let's get out of the negative zone and close this video. Now, let's.
What
10.
was that?
That's the Blue's Clues.
Oh, that was Blue's Clues.
Yeah, that was Blue's Clues getting in and out of the negative zone.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how Mr. Fantastic did it, I think.
Yeah, I remember that. Uh, yeah. I think that's Iron Man. I think that's 2008 Iron Man.
Yeah, that's
It's gonna be 10 years,
man, that's crazy.
this movie, when we walk into the theater and see Avengers Infinity War. This is the first step to our journey to infinity. It's gonna be fantastic, and I hope you, the audience, stays with us as we go through the journey to infinity up to May 4th.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
sure I'm gonna see you guys there, right?
Yeah, totally. Psh, oh, but kidding me? Like, yeah. As soon as tickets go up, I'm gonna be grabbing them.
Nah, I'm probably gonna wait. I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna wait till it gets on up on Netflix. Uh,
Netflix.
yeah, totally, man. Hashtag Journey to Infinity.
Well, first, it's kind of like it's a we come to a fork in the road, and that fork in the road is Black Panther. But then it loops back around to
Black Panther, man. Yeah.
It's coming up.
um. I will say one thing. That was a big part of my childhood, which was the Iron Man figures, is what we didn't talk about, and we're all figure people here. Uh, that Ironmonger figure with the original red chest piece. For you figure nerds out there who know what I'm talking about, they later reissued an Ironmonger figure, and he had a blue chest piece. So I had the original one with the red chest piece. That Ironmonger figure was one of the coolest figures out there. I wish I still had it. I
Really?
don't anymore, but it made me a shiny penny because, again, original red arc reactor piece in his chest, and he was also kind of a slightly different paint color. But anyway, uh,
I don't
those Iron
think
Man figures were dope.
I don't think I saw too much of the Iron Man kind of like memorabilia. I think it was just like it was no bigger than like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Like I saw it the same amount and stuff like that, and I think they were banking on like I didn't see that much Robert Downey Jr. stuff. It was all Iron Man, obviously, but
Yeah,
I think it was like they
I don't
knew
know.
that.
I think they made that's a good. We'll have to bring that up at a later time, but we should compare, toy sales because I would argue that Iron Man probably made more than the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, but
Ooh.
well, we would have to compare
Ooh.
first film sales. I mean, if we're talking about overall sales, clearly Spider-Man takes the
Well,
cake
no.
with Venom and everything.
I don't think just. I think just the movies. I'd still take up. I still think Spider Man will come out on top on that.
Well, no, but I'm talking about first films, like first released films, not
Yeah, that's what
the
I'm saying.
trilogy as a whole. Okay.
Totally, first films. I think Spider Man would still show up on top. I think Spider Man carried a heavy weight, and even with Iron Man being made out of heavy metal, I still think Spider Man throws a bigger punch when it comes to that because Iron Man was a gamble when they made this movie, and I think when it first came out, like they were trying to like get it out there, and I totally I think with kids this movie was a hit. Like I think everybody was all up on Iron Man after this one came out.
I still
Uh,
turn into a little kid when I watch this movie.
oh really? This movie?
Yeah, this movie.
Yeah,
This
this
movie?
movie's awesome.
This movie's okay. Like I don't get too
I
excited for it until like that, but again, it's a good movie. It's not like I wouldn't even call it a period piece because a lot of the uh tones and the messages in this one is pretty much timeless. I would say because it's a hero's journey that I think gets played a lot, and
Well,
it's still
even the threat in the movie is very modern.
well, yeah, and then to not only be like, oh, the threat from abroad, but the threat right under your nose with Obadiah Stane,
hmm
like that's totally the thing. That whole thing, which I think they said that they originally were gonna have maybe. I think they said that they were originally planning on the Mandarin to be the bad guy in this one, and then have Obadiah still be in it, but he doesn't turn bad. And in the second one, it's like a big reveal, like Obadiah is now evil, you know. And it was like
Well,
it would
Yeah.
have more of a punch. But then I think Jon Favreau was like, I'm not really sure on how the whole Mandarin thing's gonna work. So like he was like, we'll have the Mandarin be the one that's like a slow simmer or whatever, slow burn, and then we'll just pop off Obadiah.
do you think Obadiah is a part of the Ten Rings?
No, he was working with them. I don't think he's a part of them.
Well, if you notice that the guy who gets blown up, the Two-Face guy, Raza or something like that, the
Uh,
captain, the abductee or abductor for Iron Man, is he that he had a
discount Two Face.
discount Two-Face? Is that he has this giant ring on his hand that is 10 rings I can't help to notice. And then when
I
uh
think he was a part of them.
Obadiah gets in the Ironmonger, you kind of see a big old ring on his hand again.
Yeah, I
I,
think
I think
I
I
would
think
say he
that
was a part of them,
I think that's
and
just fashion.
I would say he was totally a part of them, and that maybe he was kind of just using them to his own means. Um, but the way I took it was that he was kind of, involved in more ways than one, and that could have held up through the third film, namely, had they would have done things differently. But that's getting uh, ahead of myself.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was the whole. I don't think he's part of them because then, like, what's his whole plan? He just wants to be in charge of the Stark Industries, and like you said, war is what. Well, no, cause yeah, he never says. I think they would have said if he was part of the Ten Rings. Like I felt like that would have been a bigger drop other than just I'm evil because that was the drop of this one. He was like, I want to be head of Stark Industries. He's not like, I want to be a head of Stark Industries for the Ten Rings, you know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that he? I think he was a part of them, but he was just kind of using them to his own means. He wasn't really tangled up in.
Uh, he,
Yeah,
he took the Boy Scout oath, but like had his fingers crossed behind his back.
yeah, exactly.
He took the Ten Rings cross, the Green Lantern, but the Ten Rings oath. Yeah. I can see that then. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's Iron Man, 2008.
Yeah, once we get into
Let us know if you think Obadiah was part of the Ten Rings or not. Let us know in the
once
comments.
once we get into Iron Man 2 and 3, I'm definitely going to be referencing this movie a lot
Oh yeah,
because yeah, there's a lot that could have played out differently in
even
the
even
second and third film.
even all the way to like Age of Ultron or Civil War.
Yeah, because this film could have been so much more uh, held so much more weight, had it would have had those other films piggybacked off of it.
Yeah. Like this is it could have got like we said with the whole different castings and the different directors and different companies. There was so much ways this could have went, and for Marvel Studios to be like, we're gonna do it, and for Jon Favreau to be like, let's kind of wing it, and so like that, and Robert Downey Jr. to be all like, I'm gonna play me basically, channel me, and so like that, like a series of events totally like just made this movie what it is today for 10 years later us talk about it.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy because when you think about it, like, again, it goes back to Kevin Feige and him being the master planner. But each Marvel film kind of came out at the right time when you saw like the events uh, playing out, like not only in the real world, but just playing off of previous films and stuff like that. Like they kind of came out perfectly.
Well, yeah, like if each movie kind of like touched on something that was kind of going on at the time, that makes it easy for like the world building to like this is how it progressed this way because they were still keeping it in line with the beats of what was going on off the screen. So it the flow stays the same, the you know, nature of the beast or whatever it's called, that flowed good.
Right.
Right.
It's kind of like a Jenga set for me, like the structure of the Marvel universe. Some of the pieces are missing, but this was a good foundation for it and probably the best start for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And that's just it. This is the start. This is the first movie of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if you think we haven't really discussed more about that, it's because it's the first start of the universe and we're trying to contain it in this movie. And even though we went into the Iron Castle War Machine suit and the Tobey Maguire and the Batman began,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
hard.
By the way, you artists out there, deviant artists, we want to see your Iron Castle pics, and so
Oh, well,
make those.
I can tell you right now that's happening in the comics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Punisher's the new War Machine.
Snap. Does he have like two arc reactors where the skeleton's eyes should be?
Oh no,
Oh, yeah, I guess that would be kind of weird.
he just paints over it. So
Oh, got you.
the skull is the main thing you see. But
Yeah,
yeah,
right now, you know, I've been reading Infinity Gauntlet, getting ready for that Infinity War, so I'm not too current on what's happening right now.
yeah.
Nobody is.
No.
You can't do it all.
This was great. This was a great start.
Yeah, yeah. These were all our thoughts on Iron Man, 2008's Iron Man. If you had your own thoughts that you want to bring up, put them down in the comments. If you want to you contradict with something that we said, you disagree with something that we said, let us know down in the comments. If you like this podcast, if you like where we're headed, if you want to like put some suggestions in, if you want to see more of this stuff, I'm not sure how you can go about showing that to us. Like if you like it or if you want to see more,
It's one of those buttons down there. You just find one, just click one you like. There's shapes. There's shapes down there. Just find your favorite shape, click on it, see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
We also have an Instagram.
Was that?
We also have an Instagram. It's Watchers Week on Instagram.
Yeah, hit us up on Watchers Week on Instagram. There, we let you know when our next episode's going to go up. We let you know what we're going to be doing next. Just all the updates still maintain up all over there. So yeah, hit us up on Watchers Inc. Instagram. That's how you're going to get the best news about what we're doing here. You can also find us all individually if you want to talk some more stuff. You don't want to chop it up. Steven, where can they find you at?
They can find me at _nerdtron on Instagram. That's really where I'm at. Not really. No, I don't. I just lurk on there and sometimes comment and post, but that's where I'll be if you want to get in contact with me about Watchers Week.
All right, cool. And what about you, Doug?
You can find me on Instagram exclusively at Dr. Cosmic, and that's Cosmic with a K and Z. Yeah, Janis Joplin, Cosmic Blues. Look it up, kids. Study up your Janis Joplin. Yeah, Dr. Cosmic, and yeah, I can't wait for our next film we talk about.
Well,
Oh
hold
yeah,
up.
it's gonna
Please
be.
and not please is where can they find you, Tim?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Hit me up on Fishbone Malone on Instagram. I post my fig pics there. We talk about comics, books, and movies and stuff like that. You can also. I'm gonna be starting up some other stuff later, but that's all in the works. Nothing concrete yet. But yeah, hit me up on Fishbone Malone. That's where we're gonna be talking about stuff on Instagram. Uh, Also, the next movie we're gonna do is, can I just say, incredible. No, yeah, Incredible Hulk's gonna be our next one. That's the next step we're gonna be doing. Super stoked for that one. Edward Norton, everything. So, yeah, that's where we're headed next. First step, more like first stomp on the
We're
journey
just
to infinity.
we're just gonna drip inside your brains, like the leader at the end of. Oh, what spoilers? What? Oh,
Yeah.
you should have seen the movie already.
Next episode, go watch
If
it.
you
Go
haven't
watch
seen
it.
these
Go
movies, I
watch it.
would
Yeah,
recommend to watch these movies.
let's do it.
All right, let's get to watching, guys.